Stop it, Bogum, and just what? It's not my fault that my parents forcibly got me married. If you would want, you would have denied marrying and then I wouldn't have to marry Jungkook. But you ruined everything. I can fix everything. Just divorce Jungkook. Silence. Jungkook stepped away from the door. His heart suddenly felt immense pain and he held his chest tightly. Gulping a lump in his throat, he made his way back to the couch, trying to maintain his neutral composure with a storm in his mind. What else did he even expect? To Taehyung to love him? Does he even deserve getting loved? He was just an extra person in everyone's lives. He can never be important to anyone. Never be anyone's first choice or anything close to that. He was just an excess weight on earth at this point. He gripped his head tightly between his palms, looking down at floor as the tears gushed in his eyes, before he blinked them away, his shoulders shivering as he tried not to cry. Then he felt a tap on his shoulder. He immediately looked up, thinking it might be Taehyung, but it was Bogum. Jungkook looked at Bogum with wide eyes tearing up a little. Bogum's lips twitched seeing him in such condition. "Hi Jungkook, I'm Bogum," Bogum chimed, smiling cutely as he forwarded his hand for a handshake. Jungkook shook his hand with him. "Taehyung might have told you about me," he asked as Jungkook looked down in shame. Since when did he become so important that Taehyung would share his personal feelings with him? He was just into a forced marriage with him, trying to act like an actual couple. "If not, then I'm Bogum." His boyfriend Jungkook heart shattered at how the other didn't say X, which meant they were still. "I hope you know about. You know Tae and me. You're in his marriage isn't real anyways." Bogum placed his hand Jungkook's, rubbing it slowly. "Tae really loves me." Jungkook jolted in fear as he saw Taehyung standing by the side of the couch, his eyes fuming in anger as he looked at Bogum, yanking away Bogum's hand away from Jungkook. He pulled Jungkook up on his feet a bit harshly and looked at Bogum furiously. "Stay away from him," Taehyung emphasized as he pointed his finger at Bogum, who stared back in shock. He yanked Jungkook by his bicep and dragged him harshly out of the venue, asking him angrily to get in the car. Jungkook was terrified to why Taehyung was so angry. Anger was bad. Other people getting angry only brought trouble for Jungkook since years. He was practically shaking as he quietly got inside the car and sat in silence. Taehyung drove rapidly to their home, gritting his teeth in anger while looking more like glaring at Jungkook, who tensed in fear and anxiety. Taehyung got out of the car, going inside his house, not bothering to wait for Jungkook, who was breathing heavily by now, his hands shaking uncontrollably as he shakily got out of the car and went inside the house following Taehyung. He saw Taehyung going into their bedroom, so after contemplating his life decisions, he went toward the room and opened the door slowly, with his shaky fingers. He saw Taehyung standing near the window, hands on his as he looked outside. Jungkook bit his bottom lips, gulping a lump in his throat as he called out, "Taehyung." Taehyung turned around, his face red in anger as he looked at Jungkook, huffing out sharp breaths, making Jungkook scared. Jungkook stepped forward, holding the hem of his husband's shirt and tucking it lightly for his attention. Taehyung breathed out to relax himself and then looked at the younger, who was looking at him with teary eyes. He was by now used to it. Jungkook was really sensitive, so he always ended up tearing up at instances. "Did you and Bogum Hyung what?" Jungkook stammered, fisting his other hand by his side, waiting for the elder to reply. Taehyung sighed. He had to tell Jungkook. He should have told earlier, but he was afraid. But now it's time that he should tell him. "Yes." Jungkook sucked a sharp breath, feeling his stomach churning at the revelation. Bogum and I were dating since 3 years. Jungkook stepped away, letting go of the elder's shirt. His lips wobbling and tears threatening to fall. He looked down to hide them and fisted his palms along his chest, trying to cope with the pain. "Oh," he said, trying to play it like it didn't affect him. Tae-hyung stepped closer, holding the other's shaking shoulders between his palms as he leaned down to look at his face. Jungkook swallowed back his sobs, looking up at Tae-hyung, unable to hide the painful expression on his face. "Jungkook, how'll you leave me?" Jungkook asked, his voice wavering at the end as he tried not to cry. "What?" Tae-hyung asked, shocked. "I mean, if you want to then you can. I have no problem. It's not like we." Jungkook tried to sound determined but ended up stammering. "Jungkook, are you in your right mind?" Tae-hyung almost yelled, feeling pain in his heart hearing such words from Jungkook. Jungkook looked down, his tears spilling out from his eyes. "You and I were forced into this marriage anyway, so." Jungkook, stop right there. "Keep your mouth shut. Do you get it?" Tae-hyung yelled, gripping his shoulders tightly. Jungkook sobbed and whimpered, the pain in his chest increasing. Tae-hyung let go of him and turned around, running a hand through his hair in annoyance. Jungkook's knees went weak, and he cried silently, dropping onto his knees on the floor. "Please don't bother yourself with me. Leave me. Bogum Hyung is better for you." Tae-hyung's heart dropped. He loved only Jungkook. Can't the younger see that? Was he that unsuccessful in expressing himself to him? He again turned around, to find Jungkook on his knees on the floor, sobbing and shaking. He crouched down to his level, holding his biceps tightly and made him look at him. Jungkook looked up, tears streaming down his eyes, and Tae-hyung gritted his teeth seeing him. How can he be so oblivious? It was clear as daylight that Tae-hyung loved him. Yet after coming such a long way through their relationship, Jungkook had the audacity to ask him to leave him? Didn't he love Tae-hyung back or what? Tae-hyung felt like his world crumbling down. His love and affection felt like being kicked away by Jungkook, which made him angry. He felt hurt, lost, and anger surging through his veins. He gripped his biceps painfully tight and Jungkook trembled, his hands flying in front of his face. In defense, as Tae-hyung yelled at his face. "What do you take me and my feelings as, huh? I'm not a would one day be with you, another day with Bogum. Can't you see your words are so stupid and illogical? Use your damn brain." Jungkook. Okay. Jungkook cried loudly, shaking immeasurably, and folded his hands in front of himself to protect himself. "Don't yell, please," he cried, hiccuping loudly. Tae-hyung let go of him, kicking the bedpost by Jungkook's side in anger and frustration, and Jungkook screamed, in fear. Tae-hyung looked at him in shock. He didn't hit him. Why is he reacting this way? "Don't hit me, do as you please, but please. It hurts a lot," Jungkook cried out, trying to breathe properly and clutching his chest tightly. "Jungkook, what?" Jungkook cried more, shaking terribly as Tae-hyung moved closer. He scooted away, tears never stopping as he crawled backward on the floor. "Don't hit, please," he pleaded, joining his hands. "Jungkook, why would I hit you?" Tae-hyung questioned, feeling hurt. Jungkook broke down completely, his past memories of similar happenings surging as he cried uncontrollably, and whimpered, shaking in fear. Hugging his knees as he clutched his head tightly in his hands, eyes closing shut. Tae-hyung was beyond shocked and concerned. What happened to him all of a sudden? Why was he behaving like this? He slowly moved closer to Jungkook, just touching his feet and placing his head on them. Jungkook looked up from his knees, seeing his husband's head near his feet. I'm sorry, the man with the deep voice whispered as he caressed his husband's feet with his cheek. Jungkook hiccupped, shedding his tears, but this time did not cry out loud like earlier. Taekook, Jungkook hiccuped out, as he touched the top of his head. Taekook looked up from his feet, his own eyes shedding tears of pain, guilt and fear. Fear of losing Jungkook. Taekook hugged Jungkook's ankles and sobbed. I will never hurt you, doll. I'm sorry, but I can't leave you either, Taekook revealed. But then the hand that was touching his head fell to the side and body he was holding relaxed weirdly. Taekook looked up in confusion to find Jungkook's eyes closed and head on the floor. Taekook panicked, getting up and placing Jungkook's head on his lap, patting his cheeks to wake him. Jungkook? Jungkook, what happened? He sobbed, trying to wake him. But no response came from the younger. His eyes were closed shut, breathing was abnormally slow, and tears had dried. Jungkook had fainted and Taekook panicked. He picked him up from the floor, placing him on the bed and grabbing his phone from the side. Immediately calling Dr. Kim's number. Hello, doctor? It's an emergency. My husband isn't waking up.